Hi, how's it going? So it's been a while since I've done a video, kind of holiday stuff going on, and it's just hard to sometimes get the time to do this. Um, so I found this painting in the closet in my art supplies. I started it about 10 years ago, and I struggled with it. I couldn't solve the issues that I was having, and instead of putting the time and the energy towards it, I just kind of dumped it and moved it to the side. I found the reference images. It was an image from Cory Clove's Cafe, and I'm probably murdering that. And then I found somebody's garden. It was a koi pond with waterfalls, and I was using those as my backdrops as my painting process. And so I decided to, let's fix this. Let's finish this painting. It's been sitting there long enough. Let's do this. And so you'll notice me as I paint, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. I'm noodling back and forth. I'm going forward, backwards, and I'm running into the same problems. And the problem I ran into was I didn't do a good enough composition, didn't do a good enough idea. I literally just said, oh, I'm going to push these two images together and make a complete picture, and it's going to be great. And so if I would have sat down and done a comp, I would have realized I had a lot of issues. Value, like the figure was not standing out from the background. And so you'll see me noodling and doodling, and it's not working. And so I took a couple days off from it, and I stepped away, and I said, okay, how do I fix this? And the first and foremost thing in order to fix it was I needed to get rid of that background. The blue sky was just detracting from everything, and so in one sitting, I sit and wiped it. And it's really sometimes hard to go away from your original idea, because like you feel you have invested time in it. But as soon as I did this backdrop here, I instantly felt tons better about this painting. And so I needed to start doing other things to separate the background from the foreground and kind of work with things. And again, this is, I struggle with this medium sometimes, but the best thing about it is you let it dry and you paint over it. So here's where I painted over, and I started pushing out the background. I started pushing out the other elements so that she would stand more in the foreground. And I Googled jungle vegetation, and I looked at all the plants. And so this is actual, I guess, Brazilian jungle stuff. And so I started pushing the background back, putting in more value, putting in more structure of that aspect. And it was one of those things that solved a majority of my issues. My first issue was I had too much blue, and so the orange and the blue were the same value and they were the same structure, and so they clashed with each other. And then you'll notice me putting in some vines and vegetation that I found from some reference images, and that worked out really good. I felt like pushing her in the background made it work a lot better. And you'll notice that I keep going back and kind of adding things in, and that's just to keep pushing the background in a little bit more. And you'll also notice that I work in one section and then I jump over to the next section, and it's because I'm trying to solve the problems as the composition as whole. Like her hand wasn't popping out, so I needed to push that in with darker values. The rock was too bright. I needed to darken that. You'll notice that a lot of times too, I'm working on, pushing the background in. So I'm brushing a little bit of dark over, a dark wash over everything. And then I realized the jungle was too plain, so I started adding some red flowers here and there and other elements like that. I also went in and added in some kind of highlights to leaves to bring the individual leaves out a little bit, and I think that worked relatively well. And you'll notice that I kind of go in and paint a lot of flowers. I don't do vegetation that much, so that alone was kind of a struggle for me. You'll also notice that the feet, like the character didn't feel like it was grounded. So at this point, I'm going back and I'm painting over the feet and repositioning the feet. And they still don't feel like it's grounded. It feels like she's going to tip over at any minute. So again, I'm going back and reworking her feet. I'm pushing that back foot back so she feels a little bit more balanced. And so these are things that you have to problem solve. And so if you don't fix it and you say, oh, I'm going to do it the next painting, you don't fix it the next painting because you might run into different problems. And if you're constantly fixing it in the next painting, you're never fixing it in the painting you're working on. And so it was a struggle to get it this far, but I think I learned a lot more in this painting than I've done in any other paintings. The simple fact that I've ran into problems, I fixed them. I decided a course of action and I went over. I repainted the feet like 3 or 4 times because it just didn't feel like she was solid enough. She didn't have enough foundation. And I think that's a big thing about painting is you have to learn how to fix those things. Because if you don't, you move on to the next thing and you never fix the old stuff. And so it just turns into project after project of mistakes. And you'll notice that I'm going through and I'm just adding a little bit of details here and there. And I'm working with a real small brush, just kind of adding in little darks where I feel they're necessary. And I finally added the costume in the back, in the end of the painting, because it wasn't important at that age. I needed the character to stand out more than I needed the costume to be designed well. And I went with the original Sheena style, Jungle Girl costume. And again, I moved the foot, as you can see. And the key point in this is fix your stuff, because ultimately, that's how you're going to learn. So if you like this, hit subscribe. If you have any questions, just ask. I'm more than willing to have a conversation. And I hope this helps you as much as it did me. All right. Have a good day.